So it is Thursday the 30th of June 2011 and I'm just driving back from Marseille airport to my home here in Provence after a 4-day trip to the UK, which was really amazing. Had some really good meetings, and the main purpose for the trip was to do two things. First of all is to try and find an importer stroke wholesaler who can sell Mirabeau into the hotels and restaurants next year with the next vintage, and also it was to attend a lunch held by PwC and Rag & Co, who are a bunch of lawyers, at the Ivy in London. And all in all, it was an amazing trip. So I also met up with my old tennis club, Real Tennis Club at Hampton Court. They're going to be, I'm going to be sponsoring an event there. They've been incredibly supportive. I met up with my PR agency, who've done a great job. We just found out today that Oz Clarke is going to be mentioning Mirabeau in his 2012 Guide to Wines, and also Ollie Smith is going to be mentioning Mirabeau in next week's Mail on Sunday. So had some really good responses from the wine critics to Mirabeau, which is fantastic. Met up with the boss of Waitrose at this event at the Ivy. He spoke very lucidly about the pressures being faced by food retailers in the UK. I mean, absolutely fascinating speech, and also very interesting to talk to him afterwards, about Waitrose and about brands and so on. So that was interesting, and it was attended by all the great and good of the British food business. So from Weetabix and United Biscuits to Warburton's, who apparently are the biggest UK brand after Coca-Cola. Pretty staggering. And Ellis Kitchen was there, and several others. So it's really interesting networking opportunity, really. Went to an event last night at the Bistro du Vin, which was part of the Hotel du Vin group. It was their opening launch event at their new bistro in Dean Street, where I met their head sommelier, their wine buyer, and also the former head sommelier at the Ramsey Group. And I spoke to them a bit about some of the challenges that I've been warned about with regards to selling a label that's available in Waitrose into restaurants and hotels. And they both basically advised me that I'm going to need to come up with a slightly different cuvee and a different label in order to sell into to hotels and restaurants, because apparently the average punter really doesn't like to see the markup that the restaurant's making, which I find bizarre, because I think we all know and accept that restaurants need to mark up wine to pay for the massive overheads they have of serving you food and wine in their establishment. So anyway, that's going to be a bit of a challenge to come up with a new label design and so on. But I for sure I'll keep I'll do it under the Mirabeau brand, but Mirabeau label. But anyway, that's food for thought. So also I went to quite a few Waitrose stores, and wherever I was standing by the shelf, I was trying to sell Mirabeau, and I sold a few bottles that way. But unfortunately, we're on the bottom shelf, and I need to work out how I can get onto a higher, ideally eye-level shelf, because the bottom shelf is about the worst place you can be, and I'm pretty disappointed in that. So I need to work out how I can get higher up there. And it was a really useful few days, and hopefully it'll end up with certainly I've understood much more about building a business in the UK, having spoken to all those people at the Ivy. It was great also for Mirabeau to be served at the Ivy, but most importantly, I think I spoke to two importers who could potentially represent Mirabeau next year, and I'm hoping one of those will come good. So a really good trip. And then at the airport I met up with a very famous British wine journalist who's a master of wine. He's called Tim Atkins, and I went to say, "Hello, Tim," and I introduced myself by my Twitter name, because I didn't think he'd know who I was otherwise. So anyway, great trip.